Good evening. So, welcome to the first GDG Cloud Wrocław meetup for this year, right? And I will hand it over to Alexander to help us get started and kick off the meetup even further, right?
Okay, hello guys on the first meetup this year. For today, like as organizers, GDG Cloud Wrocław, we are a community who is helping people to learn and increase the knowledge and their skills around the Google technologies. And today we will have overall session from the Google starting points. And for today we have such a agenda. Like first one, it will be provided by Camila. It will be learning Google Cloud. She is a learning program manager, and she will provide more details on this topic. Then we will go to next topic: jumpstart Google Cloud in your organization. It will be presented by Tomasz, who also already provided. He is like one of the Google Cloud engineer. He is strategic cloud engineer. And next one we will have Cloud Foundation Toolkit as a topic, and we will Jamit will present this topic. He is one of the also Googler. He is Google architect, Google Cloud architect. And after all, we'll have quiz time. Based on this, we can win some swags. And last one, it will be Q&A and networking for everyone. Also, on this time, once before we will start. As a community, we are right now like on the beginning of the year, and as always, we are looking for the topics and options to help people to grow their knowledge. And guys, like if you will have any topics which you would like to increase your knowledge, or you would like to be a presenter because you did something great, please let us know. Send by email or contact on the Meetup groups or Google groups, or even in Facebook, and we will try to prepare such sessions. And also you can join our groups and become an organizer, co-organizers of such events. Subscribe for our events, and see you later. Okay, let's most probably go to the first topic, which will be presented by Camila, learning Google Cloud.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for participating. Just let me know if you can see my screen. Should be pulling up now. I think everything is okay. Thanks. So once again, for those who joined a little bit later, my name is Camila. I'm with Google Cloud Wrocław, and happy to be based in Wrocław. The slightly smaller office, but a very proud and a really energetic office. I am a program manager. Maybe I'll skip to the next slide. I'm a program manager for Google Cloud. So essentially what my team is focusing on is looking for ways to enable learning about Google Cloud for primary students, because we focus in the vast majority on higher education institutions. But we also have a couple of different campaigns, and I'll be able to talk about it a little bit more in a few minutes. So as you know, you're kind of all developers or interested in the topic or becoming developers or in IT in one or the other way. So you're mostly all aware about the shift that is related to cloud that is happening at the moment, that has already started a couple of years ago. But we see definitely the fast growth that it comes when it comes to cloud-based offering. So compared to the traditional IT offerings, there is really huge difference, and the environment that it creates is simply showing us more and more of a skills gap that we see not only in Poland. That's actually an issue that is everyone in enterprise, in the big corporation, but also smaller companies is coming across. And this is the skills gap. So cloud skills are in high demand, and this is what I will be primarily focusing on on those few slides that I'll be sharing with you today. But I really want to keep it, dynamic. If you have any questions, please ask. We'll have a couple of minutes after my part, and I won't be talking long. So hopefully you can either note it down or just raise your hand just right after. So we see the pace of the technology, how it's changing, how different enterprises are transitioning to cloud. It's still happening, and it will continue to happen in the future. So right now we're in the phase of transforming many enterprises and corporations and companies to really benefit from cloud and seize the opportunity that it brings with it. But also we see the really big advantage that comes with cloud. And overall, this is all fantastic. But as mentioned, 86, almost 90% of IT leaders see that shortage, and they know already now, and we have that data already from this year, that many projects are not coming as fast as they would like to, because of that shortage in the skill set. So, of course, we're not the only cloud provider out there, and it's good. Good competition creates, the best environments to create new solutions, to work even more on our products, on our tools, on everything that clouds bring with it. But it's the clouds, the Google Cloud skills that are in highest demand in the couple of years. So we know that not only working directly with Google Cloud is the area where you need such skill set, but already now and also in the future there is and there will be a world of multi-cloud, of hybrid solutions. So regardless really of which at the moment, for example, cloud provider the specific company is using, regardless whether big or small, there will be the need to cooperate or understand a little bit of the different cloud providers. And so that is necessary to not only work on a project and maybe migration or development specifically with GCP, but also if you'll be growing a project or working on some developments related to where different solutions are put together from us and from our competitors as well. This is where the biggest challenge is, and this is where we need the skill set. So most people want to learn, and I'm sure like you also here, to just expand your knowledge, maybe learn something new, maybe get some newer network and grow your network. But overall, people are really keen to learn. And so 92% of the employees that we've surveyed are really keen to learn. But also what we see that 1/5 of employees who are leaving is primarily due to the fact that they do not see really the development opportunities for new skills that they want. And so we understand that regardless, you can be also in various layers of the organization or in various parts of the organization. For example, you could be a developer, or you can be someone in, there could be also people from marketing, for example, who really want to make sure they're not technical, but they want to make sure that they use the data that is available as much as possible, and so that they get the most out of the insights that's possible. So we know that trajectory of development and growing the different skill set from Google Cloud can be in those different ways, right? It can go either, for example, into architecture and specializing in as a security specialist, or maybe you're working primarily on as network engineer. So that can be one area. but there's also the entire universe for developers, but also really, really high in demand, all those data analysis skills. So all the future or current data analysts, business analysts, data scientists, and engineers who are really in high demand have an opportunity to learn also about different tools that Google Cloud and cloud in general brings along. And of course, I wouldn't be myself if I wouldn't touch on the topic of higher education. Not sure if we do have any students in the crowd. If we do, can you please just use the raise a hand signal? Probably not. Looks like it's all professionals who are already working full-time. But just so you know, because we know also that there's many people from the professionals field who, for example, teach at different higher educational institutions. There is one Go link, and remember this one, it might be useful later on in the session as well. cloud.googlecloud.com/edu. This is all the resources that we have that are made available for free for all higher educational, not only facilitators and faculty members, but also students. So maybe you will be up for a postgraduate study. If not, if you already finished with studies, this is also a really great to learn. But of course, so one of our goals is to really touch that group and to make sure that we work together with higher ed. But also we want to make sure that we enable learning about cloud for either graduates, maybe they're fresh from the university, do not have as much yet experience, and all the professionals. So hopefully also people like you. We want to make sure that we enable the content, the tools, and the platforms that we have for learning around cloud to you. And I will be talking about one of those, and actually both of those options a little bit more in a second, but let's make sure that we do use the opportunity and use those campaigns that we run, because they are simply enabling something for you where you can pick up those skills as you wish. And also, I wanted to just touch on the certifications. Do we have someone who has maybe a GCP certificate? I'm not asking the folks from cloud. Okay, great. So no one yet. Hopefully, if we meet in a year, there will be already like lots of hands in the air. Maybe someone has explored already the platform or any learning about Google Cloud. That's either a very shy crowd or okay, Alexander, great. You can share some feedback and insights later. I will share with you where you can learn about it, but I just wanted to bring those certifications a little bit closer. Maybe you are not aware about all of those yet. So one certification that is quite new is the Cloud Digital Leader. The Cloud Digital Leader is actually slightly different because it's not made only for people with technical background or with technical skill set. It's also for business leaders, decision makers, and companies who will be, hopefully supporting the organization so that they can thrive on cloud. So that specific certification is really good because it gives you not only those potential business leaders or leaders who are already an enterprise or in corporate space, but think about it, it gives a really good overview about how cloud can really help to grow an enterprise or a company. So how the best you can leverage all the tools that it brings so that it can simply contribute to the growth of a specific organization. So it's a very good one to have as an overview. Also, if you are only technical, well, only in that sense that you are primarily focusing on the technical side of things and the company, but it also makes you a more well-rounded person when it comes to the GCP skill set, because if we're able to understand best the benefits that come with clouds for different parts of the organization, I think that combined with the technical knowledge that you have was probably the best solution. The next certificate is the Associate Cloud Engineer, and this is the associate level. So theoretically lower level certifications, also the introductory ones, so to say. But it's not to confuse with a super easy one. It's also a little bit different in the sense that where the professional level certifications focus mostly on specific areas, are much more in depth of the specific area. The associate cloud engineer covers a lot more and slightly broader. And on the side note, as you can see, the Global Knowledge Survey that is published every year, past year and this year, we've been really happy to see our kind of certifications at the top on the podium. So we hope that will continue. And it's also showing how high in demand those jobs are and where it really is important to invest. Here you can see example journey, how the education path for the associate cloud engineer looks. So it's a combination overall of on-demand training, self-study labs, and I will talk about the platform in a second. So it's Google Cloud Skills Boost, a platform that's basically a sandbox of GCP where you can simply use the Google Cloud platform, but in a safe environment. That's simply for the purpose of training and learning about the specific tools for Google Cloud. Of course, there's plenty of educational materials that you can explore and learn more about specific areas. And very important, there are also skill badges. And I will show you a couple of specific examples of those digital credentials because they can really contribute to a much more robust knowledge, and they can be a really good guidance in terms of, okay, I want to learn towards the associate cloud engineer, what skills do I need? So as you see, the path is rather diverse. It's not a boring path where you only have theory to learn. It's a combination of theory, self-study labs, but also all the various videos that we have created for cloud. I think it's a dynamic and good learning experience. And not to miss anything that is helping us kind of to improve the lives of everyone who's kind of later equipped with the certification. So this survey was conducted for us by a third party, but we really wanted to understand, okay, what does it make a difference? You know, do we have certifications? What is the difference that we see for the people who complete them and later on use it in their professional life? So I will not go into detail for each one of them, but as you can see, there's really high scores for everything coming from whether they feel more comfortable about talking about GCP, how they can show off their skill set around the Google Cloud Platform, but also how comfortable they are explaining different concepts, for example, during interview. So overall, a much, advised or recommended way to go is really to start learning and then hopefully start off a Google Cloud career related. So one of what the message kind of that I want to leave you with is simply to just explore and learn. I will be focusing on a couple of tools that we have at your fingertips where you can explore and learn at any time it's suitable for you, but also using lots of resources, for example, on the Google Cloud channels on YouTube, where we have fantastic leaders who explain the kind of higher strategy for the product sometimes and kind of where we want to go from IO talks and so on, but also very practical hands-on explanations and kind of guidance videos from people who work maybe such as Paweł or Tomek on a daily basis with GCP. And so when it comes to those tools that I wanted to mention to you, first of all, the Cloud Skills Boost. So even if you type in your browser cloudskillsboost.google, then you'll be entering a platform that's created by us with the pure commitment to allow to learn. Those are 500 plus, and probably will be coming more and more, different labs about Google Cloud. So all you can think about, from ML, AI, networking, security, Kubernetes, everything basically is there. And you can go and explore the entire catalog and learn. Then, of course, we have I mentioned about the higher EDU, so let's maybe not go very deep into that topic because I know we do not have many students, but essentially that's also possible. So if you will be, or maybe know someone who is learning, it's definitely also worth recommending. We have many courses available on demand, not only on Cloud Skills Boost, but also with our partner Coursera. So there is many tracks who are related to GCP as well, and those can lead you also to those highly desired certifications. And not to forget, especially if you're coming from an organization that's maybe slightly bigger and you have more people to enable learning about Cloud for. So say you're in a company that has now 20 new developers and you want to expand knowledge on GCP. We have authorized training partners who are fantastic in delivering the training, but also being the subject matter experts. So very good combination and really good partners for teaching whoever needs to be taught. And one thing that I think is a really good starting page, especially if most of you are already professionally active, but also if you're a student, we have a campaign for both students and developers. So it's called Rozwiń karierę z Google Cloud, which means growing with Google Cloud, growing your career with Google Cloud. It launched, I pasted here the picture from the data center launch that we had last year in April, but essentially the campaign started slightly before that. So we have already more than 10 cohorts of experience with running the campaign. It's a really good campaign where you will be given access for Cloud Skills Boost, and you can, in your own time and pace, learn about various concepts in GCP. And worth mention, you can also potentially win some prizes. So worth bookmarking or worth exploring the page, events.withgoogle.com/Google-Cloud. Or you can type also szkolenia z googlecloud.com and then you'll be redirected to that page. So highly recommended. On Monday we'll be starting a new cohort, so you could already start signing up. So fingers crossed for that, and we'll be happy to see you there. And I mentioned to you before the kind of digital credential, the skill badges that are possible to acquire on Google Cloud Skills Boost. And so I wanted to show a couple of example pathways that you can work on there. So I hope that's visible. Essentially, how we think about learning about cloud, and of course you can apply your own ways to it, but probably thinking about what role or what job you have at the moment or you would like to do in the future, whether it's more data and business analytics or whether it's network operations. Then depending on that, there is a more or less optimal way to learn about Google Cloud. So I'm sure that folks will tell you later, it's a notion of knowledge. And so also giving it a little bit of structure, how to approach it is probably good. So for example, let's take the first one. It's cloud engineer or cloud architect. There are specific quests, which is a combination of various labs that you can take on Google Cloud Skills Boost. And that will give you the opportunity to pass kind of mini exams. So when you pass a challenge lab, you are given a skill badge. So those 5 skill badges, from kind of, easier to most advanced, can give you a little bit of guidance how you can learn about it and which steps to take, which tracks to learn after each one. So it's probably a good guidance also for everyone who wants to explore that knowledge. I'll just show a couple of more, because we have definitely also security engineers, DevOps engineers. So we listed 3, but there's of course many more. It's just a couple of examples, and the combinations are almost endless in using those 500 different labs. And then, of course, the data scientist, ML, AI, anything you want basically is there. So just remember Cloud Skills Boost. Remember the Rozwiń Karierę on Google Cloud, and those are the campaigns that we run. So that's it from my side. I'll stop presenting and let the next person take over. But meanwhile, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Such a quiet group.
We are just waiting for the end. You know, at the end there is a Q&A session, so we are just collecting all the questions,
all the notes,
warming up.
Remember the Go links; they might be useful later. Okay, so thanks so much, everyone. If there's any questions later on, you also there was the email on the slides. Maybe we can show them again at the end. Feel free to email with specific questions or find us also on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamila. Yes, and let's move on to the next topic, and it will be presented by Tomasz. Yeah. Tomasz?
Hi, everyone. Just a quick reminder before I start. Jimmy pasted the link to Google Form in the chat. So if anybody joined later, please, we like to hear feedback from you, what you would like to hear about. And saying that, let's go to my presentation. So hi everybody, I'm Tomek. So I'm strategic cloud engineer in Google Cloud here in Wrocław. So basically what I do day to day is I support clients migration to Google Cloud. And I've recently moved from infrastructure to data and machine learning team. So we've already at the point where we know Google Cloud, as Kamila told us how to go about it. So now we are going to imagine a scenario that we already learned at Google Cloud, and now you're working in a company, and let's say your company, for some reason, I don't know why, but let's say doesn't want to use Google Cloud, right? So they're having their, they're using on-prem infrastructure or using some other cloud provider or are in the process of migration. But you would like to use Google Cloud. So what to do about it, how to go about it. Later, Jimmy will tell you what tools you would have at your disposal as the implementation goes. But how to even start, right? So maybe you should just go to your manager and scream at him that you want to do Google. You would just want to work in Google Cloud. So this probably won't do much good, won't get you any far, and near your goal. Because the decision to migrate the whole organization to Google Cloud will almost certainly be passed top down. So unless you are in some high position in organization, you're probably wondering, what can I do? But from what we know working with the clients is that you can actually work to support, thanks Pavel, to support this migration. And you can validate it, this decision to migrate, by building some groundwork for it, bottom up. So what I got for you today is a simple plan, which you can most probably execute in our organization. So let's get started. So the plan is simple. The plan is just start small. So you find a project that is achievable within 1 month with the resources you have today, and that is of value to the business, of immediate value is a perfect one. And that's pretty much it. That's your plan. You should keep it simple and start small. And this is the best way to start any company's cloud journey. Now, some acknowledgements. So I do acknowledge this approach may not be valid for every organization, or may not be ambitious enough for the goals you might want to achieve, the goals that you have set for yourself. And by culture or by policy, most large enterprise organizations require some level of upfront planning and commitment before allocating resources to some projects. But even if you are in the situation, just hear me out, because there is much to be gained from this approach, whatever is your situation. So the number one challenge to you successfully starting to use Google Cloud is you proving your ability to execute. And by that, I mean that whatever you will do, every person involved in this project needs to have the necessary know-how, how to make meaningful contributions. So how to get a know-how, we already learned a minute ago. So that's good. And then whoever you will be working with, if you won't be working alone, whoever you will get on board, as a group, you need the ability to make informed decisions in a timely manner. Those two things. You need to have a know-how, and you must be able to make informed decisions in a timely manner. And it is a muscle that you need to exercise. So you need to actually do the work. So there is no amount of planning or whiteboarding will get you there. So it's better to solve the same problem twice and redo the work, because you will learn valuable lessons in the process, then plan and overthink it and do nothing in meanwhile. So always be counting and always be iterating. So for example, let's say you wait for your finance department to sort out some centralized invoicing for Google Cloud because you requested it. Do you want to start working on Google Cloud? But you can just grab your company's credit card and set up an account in a few minutes. So you can then always attach your project to an eligibility account after the finance department will figure it out. Or let's say central IT considers how to best synchronize your company's central user directory to Google Cloud to allow for some seamless single sign-on. But in the meantime, you could just create a couple of new accounts and assign them to your teammates so you can actually start working on it. So instead of asking for permission, also look for precedent in other parts of your organization. And this is a good tip here for you, because marketing and communication departments are often the places where people are using the tools which do not necessarily are approved by finance or central IT, because they need to be, and they're working on in the reality of cloud first, digital first world, right? They need to use the latest tools, otherwise they will just lose the race. So they can definitely give you tips on how to start using not previously approved tools in your organization. Second challenge for you is the bystanders and skeptics, and there will always be skeptics, right? So just remember this, that it is not that the skeptics lack imagination or ambition. Actually, they are right to assume that your efforts will fail, because until you produce tangible results that the business can value, looking from outside, your ambitions are at the best a distraction, or maybe even they are undermining other teams or departments' efforts to drive their own cloud migration. Let's say maybe other team is already migrating to another cloud provider's platform, and you are just undermining their effort. So every week that goes by in which you have not delivered the outcome that you promised, the skeptics are right and you are wrong. So what about it? So rather than make a lot of noise and then plan and concern yourself on how to share your progress with various stakeholders, how to communicate it, just fly under the radar, just do the work, focus on delivering results quickly. And then it's much easier to ask then for forgiveness of using some resources rather than permission if you can actually point to a successful outcome. And also make sure that the scope of your work is small enough not to put anyone's existence in the company in question. That's also an important point. Also, be prepared that your solution's greatest weakness will be compared with other solutions' greatest strength. So even after you have successfully landed your solution, and you can confidently point to its benefits, it's almost certain that it won't be superior to the old solution because you just started with something small. So it's guaranteed that after version 1.0, you will need to develop version 1.1 and so on. So the sentence, but it doesn't do X, this is something you will hear all the time. And maybe it's not fair, but you are going to hear it, and you are going to hear it often. So what can you do about it? Well, the good thing is that you can anticipate that this will happen. And if you can anticipate it, you can prepare for it. So you might even want to preempt this challenge to your solution and just be upfront about it. Just say, here is the greatest weakness about this new solution, and here are all the benefits that outweigh it. And by the way, like if you cannot point to the benefits which outweigh the weaknesses, then you should probably go back and do more work and do it better. The third challenge would be the limited resources at your disposal. So if your first instinct is to ask the business to allocate some quantity of developers before starting, then you are not thinking small enough. Think smaller. So instead of asking leadership for resources, just search out other people in your organization who are already interested in the technologies we are talking about. So in this case, Google Cloud. And the prospect of just being allowed to experiment and become a go-to subject matter expert in your company is a great motivator for many people. And those people will make the time necessary to help you out. And also, don't forget that at this point, you are only asking about a month period, right, for now. Furthermore, your investment can grow proportionately with the scope that you've successfully delivered. That's why it is so important to start with something you can ship in 1 month. So once you've successfully accomplished that, ship the next bigger thing in 2 months, and then the next in 4 months, and so on. And inevitably, you will cross a threshold where you need to ask the leadership, the business, for additional resources. At this point, you better have a business value which you brought that you could point to. Because the business value you have already achieved serves like a security deposit. So your demonstrable ability to ship becomes something like your credit rating. And here are some examples of what I would mean by starting small. So I won't go into details, right? You're welcome to take a screenshot or just return to this point of the recording later if you want to read them. But if you look at those examples, you can see that starting small does not necessarily mean doing something trivial. The most important thing is to find something which will validate your ability to execute. This is a crucial point. It will arm you with evidence of success, and this will allow you to fend off skeptics and give you arguments which you can use to get the additional resources to invest in your project. And once you feel like you've exhausted the merits of this plan, which I just presented, and you are ready to tackle large-scale cloud program, it is time for another plan. And I'm not going to talk about it today, but I've adapted this presentation from a deck created by 2 of our colleagues, Alex and Finn. And they created this deck on the basis of 4 articles they have written for Forbes.com. So the original content of those articles is presenting 2 plans, actually, Plan A, Plan B, by which you can promote a culture of innovation in your organization. So the Plan A is basically what I presented you today, and it's easily applicable to starting any cloud journey in any organization. And that is because it will always be about starting small and about innovating. So I invite you to read further, especially if you're working in a large organization Maybe a couple of times during this presentation, you may thought something like, yeah, that's great, but I won't be able to do that where I work. So maybe some groundwork needs to be done first. So if there are some strict regulations where you work and you just cannot start something up, yeah, maybe those articles will help you figure out what to do next. So thank you very much. And yeah, I'm happy to answer all the questions which you might have. You can also post the questions in the chat. Oh, sorry, the light just switched off. We are really eco-friendly office. Okay, if there are no questions, then I guess I'll stop sharing and pass it to Jimit. Thank you very much.
Sure. Let me just share my screen. Okay. Everybody is able to see my screen, right? Great. Hey everyone, good evening. Thanks so much for joining. I am Jimit Rangras, currently working as a cloud architect here at Google Cloud with the Global Delivery Center team. We help design and migrate our customers' infrastructures onto Google Cloud, and also help them on day-to-day basis in terms of designing their operations, maintaining their environments according to Google's best practices and whatnot. And today I will be speaking about Cloud Foundations Toolkit. So what is Cloud Foundations to start with, right? Now that we have seen how you can learn Google Cloud in the best possible way from Camilla's session, as well as how you can jumpstart Google Cloud in your organization from Tomek's session, we will see how and what all resources are available to you that you can leverage to get started with Google Cloud, with all the best practices and the best possible implementations of various different services and components, and jumpstart your Google Cloud environment, right? So Google Cloud Foundation Toolkit is basically a collection of infrastructure as code modules, which are enterprise ready, meaning it can be used by small scale companies having small scale cloud environments to bootstrap their cloud environment and create their infrastructure in the fast and reliable manner. It is modularized, meaning it can be used and leveraged as is, as well as it can be built upon and further extended as per your requirements and your infrastructure needs. And it is all available as infrastructure as code, meaning it can be deployed in a fast, hassle-free and simplified manner, and can be further automated with all the best practices that have been implemented in that code to start with, and then further it can be extended as and when needed for even developing it further and integrating more and more services into that, right? So as on the lines of what we were discussing, it is available as infrastructure as code templates for various different tool sets such as Terraform, Deployment Manager, as well as Kubernetes manifest files. And it has more than 100 templates which are available for various different use cases. Let's say you want to bootstrap your Google Cloud organization, or you want to create some sort of IAM users and roles for assigning certain accesses to the users for accessing your Google Cloud environment, or you want to create CI/CD pipelines for deploying your infrastructure or deploying your services and whatnot, right? So such kind of templates have been created in terms of modules, in terms of Terraform modules, deployment manager templates, scripts, as well as Kubernetes manifests. And for CI/CD platforms also, some sort of examples have been provided for Jenkins, for Cloud Build, which are mainly popular CI/CD platforms and are used on day-to-day basis in setting up DevOps workflows, automating the infrastructure deployment, automating the application deployment and whatnot, right? And on top of that, it is extremely secure. It has baked in security best practices which are recommended by Google, as well as built around covering all the security aspects of your network, your infrastructure, your compute, and other services as well. Right? So when we are setting up a Google Cloud environment, initially you start with setting up your organization that would become your root node of your Google Cloud environment or your Google Cloud account, right? So let's say that you have an organization, or you are working for an organization which has a domain name example.com, right? So when I want to set up the GCP environment or the Google Cloud environment of that particular organization, the first step for me would be to sign up on a cloud identity and create an organization node for that organization or that company, right? And that would be integrating the domain name of that organization to cloud identity, and that domain name would become the root node of the cloud identity or the Google Cloud organization, right? Now, starting from that root node or the org node, I will be able to build my complete organization hierarchy below that root node, right? So basically, organization hierarchy would consist a list of folders as well as projects with which you can organize various different kind of resources in a hassle-free manner across your organization, maintain security across your organization, as well as grant and revoke access in a hassle-free manner by leveraging folders and projects, as well as do a lot of cost control when you are dividing your resources across various different projects, right? So once the org node setup is completed, your cloud identity is provisioned, your users are created in Google Cloud, and you have a billing account to start with so that you can create resources in your Google Cloud environment. The next step to move further is to create various different kind of resources. First thing that you start with is your project hierarchy. As you can see in the Cloud Foundation Toolkit section, project hierarchy, IAM, shared VPC, and all the components that are required. That is network services, compute services, database services, storage services such as cloud storage, cloud SQL, GKE, that is your Google Kubernetes engine, are all included in the Cloud Foundations Toolkit Terraform modules and deployment manager modules, right? So these can be leveraged to bootstrap your resources and provision your landing zone infrastructure that can be used for further migrating your workloads into Google Cloud or further provisioning your application specific workloads into Google Cloud, right? So by using the Cloud Foundation Toolkit, you can get your base infrastructure up and running in a very quick, fast, and hassle-free, as well as in an automated manner, on top of which you can further build upon your application specific infrastructure so that it will continue to use all the best practices that are suggested by Google in Google Cloud. So there has been a trend that has been observed in the cloud community or in the development communities. Like Terraform is the most popular tool that is generally used by most of the organizations for creating their infrastructure, as it is open source. It is multi-cloud friendly and follows a easy to understand configuration language, right? So considering that, Cloud Foundation Toolkit also contains a huge set of Terraform modules which can be leveraged for building your infrastructure on Google Cloud, right? So what sort of modules are available in the CFT, right? So if we talk about compute, most of the GCP compute services are covered in the different Terraform modules that are available. That is Google Kubernetes Engine. You can use this module for spinning up Kubernetes Engine in Google Cloud, create cluster, create node pools, deploy your workloads onto Google Cloud, as well as get started with various different configurations that are available with GKE, right? Similarly, with VM module, you can create virtual machine instances for deploying your workloads onto different operating systems, do a lift and shift, migrate your virtual machines from on-premise or other cloud platforms to Google Cloud, and much more. As well as Cloud Functions is a serverless offering from Google Cloud, which can be used for creating asynchronous serverless applications. So if you want to create API sort of services, or if you want to develop microservices, microfunction kind of a distributed architecture, which is cost effective and also works on a large scale as and when needed, Cloud Functions would be the way to go, right? So similarly, moving on with other services, when we talk about storage, we have modules that are that can be used for creating cloud storage bucket, that can be used as object storage for uploading static files from your application. We have modules for BigQuery, that is a data warehouse, data analytics offering from Google Cloud that can be used for analyzing data using SQL queries, and various different data sources can be integrated with BigQuery as well. And similarly for creating database servers such as Cloud SQL and whatnot, right? And other modules are also available for creating network infrastructure such as virtual networks, managing your DNS zones, creating NAT gateways for managing your egress traffic, creating cloud routers for performing routing in the Google Cloud, creating load balancers for balancing load of traffic on your application, and managing and scaling your application in the similar way by enabling auto scaling and whatnot, right? Similarly, from a security perspective and from an organization perspective, also a lot of modules are available, starting with IAM, from where you can manage the roles and user assignment so as to grant your Google Cloud environment access to the organization-wide users in a secure way and following the zero trust approach. Similarly, Project Factory is also a very important module that can be leveraged for creating your organization hierarchy, for creating various projects in your organization, in which you can manage your resources in a very distributed and a hassle-free manner. It can also benefit you in a lot of ways, where you can divide your application workloads in various different projects as per environments, let's say, right? Let's say you want to keep your workloads separate in non-prod, that is development, test environments and UAT environments, and separately in your production environments, right, where they cannot interact with each other. Then Project Factory can be used for creating several different projects for several different applications distributed across multiple environments, right? Similarly, organization policy are some constraints that can be used for applying or denying certain processes across your organization. All of this can be automated using the Terraform modules that are available around org policy. Similarly, VPC service controls are again some sort of constraints that can be applied on your virtual private networks or virtual private clouds to even further enhance the security of your VPCs. And log export and KMS can also be used for enabling your logging export to BigQuery or other destinations that are available, such as PubSub or cloud storage. And KMS can be used for managing your keys, encrypting them in cloud in a secure manner by using the key management service. So, since the Cloud Foundation Toolkit is developed using open source modules and developed using Terraform, most of the Terraform commands are or can be utilized with the Cloud Foundation's Toolkit, so that it is very easy to integrate, to get started with, as well as it can be integrated in your existing workflows. Let's say if you are using some sort of automation tools, which are your CI/CD platforms, right? The Terraform commands can be integrated into those automated CI/CD platforms, and then you can build your CI/CD pipelines accordingly so that you can deploy your infrastructure as code in an automated manner. So how is the directory structured, or how is Cloud Foundation's Toolkit available? So it is available as a open source GitHub repository, which contains various different folders, and it is actively maintained by the community as well as by the engineers from Google. So when you look at the Terraform directory structure for the Cloud Foundation's Toolkit, it starts with Bootstrap, which contains the initial setup of how you want to get started or how you want to bootstrap your Google Cloud environment, right? So with Bootstrap module, you can get started, you can create your initial service accounts, you can create your initial Bootstrap projects, and link your Terraform backend to a Google Cloud storage bucket, so that multiple teams can work on it in a distributed manner, and you don't need to worry about the state if the remote backend has been configured with Google Cloud Storage. So Bootstrap module allows you to configure all that necessary components to get started with configuring your environment in Google Cloud, right? Moving on with the organization module, it can be used for creating org-wide resources such as IAM roles to start with, organization policies to start with, assign some sort of IAM role assignments to your organization-wide users, maybe create a group for network administrators, assign them relevant roles, create a group for your DevOps admins, assign them some relevant roles and whatnot, right? Then environments section can be used for creating different environments in your organization. Maybe you want to create different folders for different environments, so that hierarchy can be bootstrapped from the environments section, and you can create multiple folders based on various different use case, based on different business unit, based on different environments and whatnot, right? And then moving further with network creation, it can be used for spinning up your base network, for setting up your landing zone on Google Cloud, maybe create a bunch of shared VPCs, create a VPN connection with your on-premise as well as with your Google Cloud environment, and so on. And similarly, projects can be used for creating your projects inside Google Cloud, inside the folders that you have created earlier, so that your hierarchy is developed in the right manner so that it is easy to use. And with the projects module, a lot of things can be automated, such as enabling the APIs when you are creating the projects for interacting with various different services, assigning the projects to specific networks so that you can control the traffic flow in and out of your specific projects if you are leveraging shared VPCs and whatnot. And similarly, there is a whole different module that is revolving around that is known as Project Factory, that can be leveraged for that sort of use cases. Now, Cloud Foundations Toolkit is a collection of infrastructure as code templates, right? There is another Cloud Security Foundations blueprint, which is available on Google Cloud's website under Cloud Security Best Practices Center. It is basically a complete guide of best practices so as to how you can structure your Google Cloud environment in the best possible manner, right? It is a very detailed guide. I won't get into much of a details, but you can refer it from Google Cloud Security Best Practices Center. Here's the location where you will be able to find it. But I would highly recommend anyone who is getting started on Google Cloud, or who wants to design their infrastructure in the right way, or even learn about the best practices of various different sections around Google Cloud, this would be the place to start, because over here you can start with the baselines, like how you should get started with setting up your infrastructure, how you should set up your organization, what are the best practices that are revolving around setting up a right organization hierarchy from a security perspective, right? All of the sections are covered in the guide, as well as various different components, like how you should structure your networks in Google Cloud, as well as how you should deploy your workload so that it can be scaled in the right manner, as well as you have all the security controls that are necessary in the place as well while you are creating the infrastructure, right? And then similarly, we have a Terraform repository as well. That is an example foundation. So it can be found under Terraform Google Modules repository itself. Again, this is also an open source repository, and it is a complete end-to-end example of how a Cloud Foundations code can look like from an example organization perspective, right? It has a complete step-by-step guide of how you can get started with the foundations, how what each module contains, like what Bootstrap module contains and whatnot. And then similarly, what resources would be created by that module, right? So this guide can be followed from the README, and then you can eventually get started with spinning up various different resources or playing around with the code to understand how it works, and then eventually go further creating your resources for various different components, right? Moving on, we'll discuss with some of the major modules, like how and what those modules do. And I have added the links of the Terraform repositories for those respective modules, right? So to start with Project Factory module, we were discussing about organization hierarchy in Google Cloud, right? So Google Cloud has a unique feature where you can divide your resources across various different folders in your GCP environment, and those folders are basically folders like you have in your local file system, right? It helps you organize your resources in a very nice way, right? And in these folders, you can create various different projects across multiple folders, right? That can help you define your organizational hierarchy in your Google Cloud environment, right? So Project Factory module has various different features with which you can create your projects in your Google Cloud environment. You can enable a bunch of APIs that are required by the project. You can assign the relevant roles for users who would be interacting with the project following the best approach or least privilege approach. And it also has some sort of inbuilt best practices. That is, it would delete your default network, which is a recommended practice. It would delete a default service account, which is again a recommended best practice. And it would also perform other listed items as well when it starts, right? Similarly, we have a network module which can be leveraged for creating shared VPCs, for creating standard VPCs, for creating subnets, and all the network related components, create firewall rules and whatnot, right? Moving on with the IAM module, it can be used for creating multiple roles, custom roles, predefined roles, and assigning those roles to your users so that they can access and interact with the relevant resources and perform relevant actions in your cloud environment. Moving forward with log export module. So in Google Cloud, there is a feature where you can export your logs to multiple destinations. You can export your logs to cloud storage bucket for further analysis or further storage or retention purposes. You can export them to BigQuery for, again, doing further detailed analysis on the logs, as well as you can even export it to a Cloud PubSub topic, from where you can export it to your SIM tool or any other destinations as and when needed, right? So log export module can be used for defining a relevant destination and configuring that for various different kind of logs that are getting generated in your Google Cloud environment, such as VPC flow logs, network logs, firewall logs, VM instance logs, and so on, right? Moving further with VM module, it can be leveraged for creating instance template, for creating managed instance groups that can scale up and down in an automated manner as and when you need them to, based on the traffic requirements, and also create VM instances as and when needed for your projects. And similarly, we have another module for service accounts. Service accounts is a feature that can be used for granting roles or permissions to Google Cloud resources to interact and perform some sort of actions with other GCP services or resources, right? So whenever, let's say, compute engine needs to talk to a database service, or compute engine needs to talk to a cloud storage service, in that case, best possible approach would be to create a service account and attach that service account to your compute engine instance, and then grant a cloud storage editor role to edit cloud storage buckets, or cloud storage create object role, so that compute engine can upload objects onto a cloud storage bucket, right? So for these sort of use cases where you need to create service accounts, assign them permissions, and assign service accounts to the relevant GCP services, service accounts module can be leveraged. And in a similar manner, a lot of such modules are available in the GitHub repository that can be used, which are actively maintained as part of the Cloud Foundations Toolkit and as part of other initiatives as well. I've included some sort of reference links also over here to get started. So these can also be referred. It is basically what we just saw throughout the presentation, the Project Factory module, the Cloud Foundation website, where you can download and find the white paper to read it further, as well as some other blueprints and modules that are available. So that's pretty much it from my side. Thanks, everyone. If there are any